that you don't even understand how they get there, but they do. Hello, Tim. Welcome. So that is what Soul Manifesto is about. Hello. Anyway, and with that group, we do a whole lot at Soul Manifesto to help you achieve that. There are plenty of programs and books and everything else that you can look at. And one time you can look at the whole website. We've got a whole new website actually coming up very soon, so you might enjoy looking through that. But I want to talk a little bit about this, why it was formed, and also the Green Terra Group. Now, the Green Terra Group is an outreach of soulmanifesto.com. And why I started this group is because there are so many concepts that we have floating around, and we're going through so much in the United States and the whole world. The whole world is getting into a fearful state. But other than that, there are so many people that truly do not like their lives. They are not happy. And yet they still keep living in a habitual way, and they still keep doing the same things and trying to do whatever they think is, well, what they think they have to do. And they end up really unhappy in their life. And so when I started Green Terra is a Buddhist goddess. And she is the goddess of being guided by your soul and achieving the desires of the heart. And I thought that was so appropriate, not only for Soul Manifesto, but also incredibly for our discussion, because the concepts we'll be discussing here are hopefully concepts that will, I'm hoping that once we talk about them, and this is a discussion group, guys. I don't do all the lectures, okay? It's also a discussion group. You'll start to see some ideas that you can toss around in your head and start to question some of the ways that why things aren't working, or why.
Oh, Ellie, I can go outside.
Oh, okay. Hi, Lynn. Hello, Carol. We'll start to question little bits about what is going on in our own lives. All right. Okay, so how many people do we have on? We have 11 people on right at the moment. There's quite a few that are signed up for this, so people will come in. But I would really like to pose a question to you to just begin. Hello, Carol. So I want to know what your ideas on fear are.
Can you be Elena? What does that mean? What does that mean?
Okay. You're a little muffled. Say that again.
Can you tell us what you want? Last time I've never been asked that question.
You've never been asked that question? All right. Good. I'm glad. That's why you're here. I love it. All right. So hi, Lynn. All right. So the fear. Okay, I will read something to you. I think that'll help. And if you have noise in the background, put yourself on mute while I read, and then we'll open it up for when we discuss. Now, this is kind of a Buddhist idea, but fear is an unpleasant emotion that arises mainly because of craving. Now, we can talk about that. Craving and attachment are the causes for many unwholesome, unpleasant, and evil things in life. It's because of that, these two things, we wander into a cycle. We just wander into a cycle of fearful state. And the perfect peace and tranquility and the highest bliss that we want has escaped us. Now, fear means something different to all of us. We have fear. People tell me all the time that, oh yes, fear is so needed. Otherwise, we will put our hand in the fire. And that fear is very needed because I would walk off the cliff. Well, I would hope we have enough brains not to walk off the cliff in general. But I would like to know what fear means to you. Is it something that you experience? If so, how? What causes you the greatest fear? What is the fear that keeps keeping you where you are? What does fear, do you feel, let's ask with a simple question. Do you think fear is needed?
Elena, this is Kathleen.
Hi, Kathleen.
And I would say, for me at least, and I think for a lot of people, fear is the unknown. You don't know what's going to happen, and you don't have complete faith that what is going to happen will be something good. And you may feel helpless to know how to either prevent that or change that.
I love that. How many people here agree with that?
This is Larry, and I would agree to that.
Okay, Larry, hi Larry. How
Hi.
about we say our name and where we're from, and then people will get to know us a little bit. How's that? Just a state or something.
Okay, I'm Larry, and I'm from Fort Wayne.
Oh, hey, Larry from Fort Wayne. I'm Elena from Fort Wayne.
Yes, we have met.
Yes, we have. Hello. I'm so glad you're on.
Yeah.
All right. So, yes, I do remember you very well. That's very cool. So tell me a little bit, what do you agree about most about that unknown? Tell me, can you get a little bit deeper than even, Tammy, you did an awesome job on opening this up. Thank you. Now, can you talk a little bit more about it, Larry?
I can talk about from my experiences, and I agree with what she said as far as faith, because I believe that faith is something you have to earn. Faith is something you have to have grown. Fear is something that is unknown, and to have faith that it's going to happen, the results are going to be good for you, or what you're wanting, is something that's really hard for me to believe in. For the fact that fear has conquered in many things in my life, and I've had to face many things, and I've had faith that I haven't seen the positive results yet.
Okay. All right. But you're facing it. All right. All right. Okay. What else? Who else would like to contribute to this? Because this is big. Fear is something that guides our whole society. So what else? Does anyone else? Lynn, you look like you're champing at the bit over there.
Yeah, I was trying to find the unmute button. The word that came to me, everything everybody said, I mean, I relate to. And thank you for doing this. This is very good. But the word about not feeling in control, I think, I mean, that word came to me like right off the bat.
That's a good point. So unknown and also and that control, and that is a whole interesting thing. What?
Because you really can have it, but
I'm sorry.
Because we really don't have a lot of control, but I feel like a lot of us hope that we, can somehow control as much as possible, but let go and let God, right?
Right. Well, that's what we want to do, but it's very hard for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this control. Okay. So it is going fear. You guys hit it on the head. You hit it on the head. Most people are extremely scared of the unknown. That's why they don't jump out and choose out of their comfort zone. Why we aren't all living the life we want to live. Why we get into jobs we don't like and we stay there forever. Why we get into toxic relationships and we don't leave. Why we create these habits that we know are not for our best, but it's everybody around us is doing it and we're scared to step forward. This is all fear. And it's all fear of the unknown, that once we step out, we don't know what life is going to be like. We don't know there's going to be somebody else out there that's better. We don't know if there's a job that we really create our heart's desire. It's fear. But the other thing that we're talking about that you brought up that I think is really important is that feeling of control. And what is that control? And do we really have control or not? So I want to kind of broach it a little bit more. If I told you that if you stepped out of your comfort zone and you started something new, and I told you everything was going to be fine, would you do it?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm glad I have so much power. Carol, where are you from, hon?
I'm from Long Island.
Okay, okay.
I
So
The
So-
two things that come to
I
mind.
find it so interesting. So really, what do you think about this? So if we felt strong enough, we could step out of everything.
If we felt strong enough, we could what?
Step out of our comfort zone into a world that we just had no idea, but we could do it.
Yes,
I think so.
yeah, I do too.
Okay. All right.
So do you just talk and you can hear each other?
Yes.
You can hear each other, but if you have background noise, you might want to just mute it until you talk and then unmute it when you don't want to talk. All right, so
Okay.
with the fear of this unknown, all right, so all of us we've been around the block a few times.
Mhm.
And with that, when we want to step out, tell me what you do to conquer that fear.
I missed the last part that you said, Elena. This
I
is
said,
Kate.
tell me what you do to conquer fear.
Alina, this is Dan.
Yes.
I
Hi,
think-
Dan, where are you from?
I'm in New Jersey, great state of New Jersey.
Ah, the great state of New Jersey. Good for you. Okay.
I would say that when conquering fear, the best thing to do is not to procrastinate and try to hit it head on. Because if you just sit there and dwell, it could consume you and it could affect everything that you do. So, you got to put one foot in front of the other. And you got to kind of jump in the pool and just try to tackle something and overcome that. Otherwise, you could carry that on your back for your whole life, no matter what the fear is.
Interesting. Yeah, Kathleen, you want to say something?
I actually, my answer was somewhat close to Dan's, and that is don't sit and dwell on it. Just get up and take the bull by the horns and do it.
Ah, listen to that. The will. The will is one of the 6 gifts of the Spirit. Very good. So okay, so it's fear of the unknown, it's fear of this, but what actually happens when you feel fear? I mean, why is it fear? Okay, so we have fear of unknown, but that's not enough to keep me from trying something. So I have the fear of the unknown, but so what? There has to be more to it, guys.
Elena,
Yes.
I love that acronym of false evidence appearing real. I think that's what happens.
Say that again, Carol. For some reason, your computer's doing a weird sound, and you had something important to say. Can you hear
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
No.
sorry. I didn't know it was mine.
that? All right.
I didn't know how to stop that.
All
Okay.
right. Well, what were you saying?
The acronym false evidence appearing real.
False? Okay.
Evidence appearing real. Like now, if we go out, all the scenarios that really are not likely to happen to us
Oh, you live all that.
appearing
Okay.
real.
So your mind says, oh my God, this could happen. Oh my God, this could happen. Or, oh my Lord, I can't do it because I'm going to fail.
I really try not to go there, but I think that's what prevents people from moving forward. I try to just, like,
Yeah.
move forward, even, you know.
Yeah, it's that critical mind. It jumps at us. All right. So the fear is our old beliefs. Fear are our old experiences, things we've been told, things we've lived through, things that we've learned lessons from. We learn not to touch fire because someone told us it's hot, you're going to burn yourself. Or we touch the fire and we burn ourselves. One or other. And it's stored into our memory bank. It's stored into our subconscious mind. And then we can't get past it. We can't, but imagine if we couldn't get past the fear of fire, we would never have fires to keep us warm. Do you see what I'm saying? You have to get past the fear to create something good out of the fear. How do you feel about that concept? And what does that mean to you?
This is Tammy, and I think that sounds fabulous. But I'm not good at it.
Yeah, it does sound fabulous, because a lot of the times, many of the things that we so-called, well, using fire, and I'm trying to think also swimming. How many of us have told, don't go in that water, you know, you're going to drown or whatever. But as soon as we learn how to swim, then the water is not something fearful. Do you see the fear that it's disproving what we have learned in our subconscious mind? And so while, this is the thing, guys, if the fear is in there, it served us at some time. The beliefs served us. Like when I was 3 years old, yeah, touching fire would not be so good. Nobody said anything about the easy off oven though. And I made a mess out of that when I was a kid. But fire we stayed away from. And I'll tell you, that time it served me. But when I got older, it didn't serve me anymore. Now, think to yourself, what fear do you have that isn't serving you? Do we all have a fear?
I do.
Is that who said that? I
This
did.
is Kathleen. I definitely have fears, and they are, and I understand what you're saying now. It's basically what has been taught to us, to what our reality is, and we have to step out and change our reality or change our perception to say that we are ready to go conquer whatever it is we want to.
Exactly. So it's changing our perception. There are millions of ways. I want to hear some of the ways that you've learned about changing your perception to be able to conquer the thoughts that you're having, these old fears, to change your perception on them. How many of you have tried different things?
Well, this is Larry, and I want to say, yeah, I've tried a number of things. The thing that you'd mentioned was fear is basically our own experiences.
Yeah.
And isn't that the same thing with faith? If just as you said, if you tell somebody it's okay to do this, do that, and it works out all right, then they're going to have faith within you. But if you tell somebody that you are telling them it's okay and it turns out not okay, then wouldn't that create a fear? So I look at faith and I look at fear as something very similar.
Ah, you do, don't you? I find that fascinating. Who else can agree with that?
I think I can, because I think what that just struck from, oh, I'm Erin. I'm right outside of New York City. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Erin.
But, you know, for me, sometimes, you know, it's like an old country music song. It's like, well, what you thought you wanted, maybe it wasn't supposed to work out. So here, you know, here we're wanting something to happen. We're doing it because we think it's going to turn out. But maybe if we have enough faith, that's why it didn't work out. So I don't think we should continue. I hate saying the word should, but, you know, I don't know if I know what Larry's saying, and that resonates with me. But
I love this. Okay.
Yeah, I like that. You know, to me, I need to work on my faith more than my ignoring or not caring if I'm afraid. I'm more at peace being afraid than I am embracing faith.
Oh my God, that is right on a button, folks. Can anybody else talk about that further? That you are actually, it's easier to have the fear and to accept that than it is to build the faith to do it.
This is Tammy from Fort Wayne, and yeah, I definitely can relate to that.
You can relate to that?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And all right. And Lynn, what about you?
You know, about the familiarity of fear. Is that what you're saying? Like, yeah, I could relate to that. I think I'm trying to push myself past it a little bit more. Like, I'm not, you know, I mean, not in everything. But in some things, and then I'm hoping that that'll make me stronger to apply to other fears, I guess. But like right now, like the fears of even doing online stuff, you know, it's like, it's almost like this little voice comes in my head, this perfectionism, like fear thing. And I see that sometimes you have to do the thing like there's that book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. So I'm trying to practice that, but I'm not doing that on all of my fears, but so far I'm trying to practice that on smaller ones.
Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, it's doing it in spite of the fear, talking to the fear, talking it down a little bit, you know?
Sometimes once you take the action, you know, once you take the action, I guess in a way that's distracting yourself from the fear. You know, it's that overthinking, which I've had a long history of doing that, except for like the last 10 years when I got more into this stuff. But sometimes, you know, taking the inspired action, I think, takes you out of the fear part of your mind.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. No, quiet. All right. So if when you that's one way to do it, Lynn. You know, and as you step forward and you do it and it's perfect, and you do it and you run into an obstacle and you conquer it, then that builds faith. And then we're back to, excuse me, hopefully one of the boys will. All right. And that goes back to what Aaron said, or Larry said, that faith and fear are very similar. Do you see how that plays?
Yes.
So yeah. So but the more you conquer the fear, then you gain more faith in what you do.
Right.
And that's definitely one way to do it. It's a tough way to do it, and you're doing very well at it. And you're walking through that fear. That takes a lot of will. That takes a lot. I'm giving you kudos. That's very good. And you keep getting out there. And I'll tell you right now, I've watched your lives, and I think you do very
Thank you.
well.
Thank you. Well, sometimes, I mean, I think meditation really does help to, you know, fortify yourself a little bit and get you out of the fear. So if you have an idea in meditation, I find especially, then I get like a little enthused about it. And if you take action when you're enthused, you sort of forget about the fears.
I like this. Yeah, that's true. And meditation is, okay, so meditation is one cure. I like that. That's very good.
Thank you.
Yeah. And all right, so what if I said, okay, so we all have a goal. We all have something we want to do, don't we? And we have fear that's holding us. What's another way that you have found that you've dealt with it?
Elena, tell? I just really believe that we can trust our intuition. That whatever, you know the law of attraction, good feels good and bad feels bad. So if you use your body as a guide,
yes,
you can't go wrong. If it feels good, go for it. If it feels good in the body, if it doesn't, then don't.
Okay. You know, Carol, do you know that intuition is another? Okay, there are 6 gifts of the spirit. So far we've mentioned 2, and that is incredible. The will is one, intuition is one, imagination is one, memory is one, reasoning is one, and perception is one. Those are all gifts of the spirit, and they work together. So if we activate, and really I have found more and more that the more we activate imagination and intuition, it changes the perception, which then changes our reasoning, which then changes our will. It strengthens our will. and our whole memory, before you know it, you start to remember the good things in your memory, and the critical mind starts to get more quiet.
Well,
These are powerful gifts. So when you say open up to your intuition, yes. Now my question to you, and I'm playing devil's advocate, okay? Because it is a discussion group, but you are on the right track. If I am going by my critical mind, and I believe that something, I'm scared of this and I'm scared of that, then when I go to try it, am I not going to feel a whole lot of weird stuff going on in my stomach and my shoulders and my body? And should I listen to that, or should I plow through? This is open to everyone.
I guess it depends on what it is. I mean, you can't help but listen to those things when your body's talking to you, but you have to ultimately decide, are you going to override it or not? And I think, because ultimately it's not the fear of what you're doing as much as it's the fear of failing at what you want to do. And whenever you think about, you're going to get realizing you're going to get.
Whoops, I lost you.
Oh, sorry. I would say it's the fear of failure. And whenever you think of failure, you get those butterflies in your stomach and you get nervous because no one wants to fail.
Okay. Oh, good. We can talk about this. I love you guys. All right. So, yep, there's actually 3 categories of fear that they put them into categories: fear of failure, fear of success, and fear of not fitting in, okay, or conformity. And fear of failure is the most popular one, I think. Yes. So if we have this fear of, so what if I'm going to throw something out there. What if I told you that life is one giant experiment? And that the more experiments, and for your soul's growth, the most important thing is to have lots and lots of experiments and experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say it certainly feels like that right now. I'd say you're onto something.
I know this time we've been kind of tossed into living an experience, and it's how we live through it defines it evolves our soul. But yeah, and the fear is running rampant right now. Do you agree with me or not?
I do.
Yeah.
Listen, I and look what I have. I gotta get more.
Yeah, I know. And now eggs are gone. I mean, it's just so funny that people are going out and buying tons and tons of stuff. Now, I'm going to use this as an example. People had fear. And what we talked about was one of it was the lack of control. So the first thing they did when they were faced with an unknown thing, they had to grasp at control. And because they felt like they were spiraling downward, they didn't know what to do. The sickness is coming. China had so many problems with it, going down, going down, going down. We feel like we're just free falling. So they had to grab something. So what did they grab? Toilet paper. Now, is it logical? That's your opinion. I don't know. I was saying to someone when I heard I had to get into the house and stay in the house a long time, the first thing I thought of was my caramel latte. I wanted that in my house. But I didn't go into the fear. But see how people all of a sudden, how the fear turned irrational? It turned to going into just grabbing anything it could to create a normalcy in their life. Am I the only one that sees that?
No, it's kind of sad because I feel like people who are not into this kind of stuff are really seem to really be grasping at whatever they could hold on to, yeah.
Larry, what do you say about that? I'm getting you into the conversation.
Well, I'm going to agree with Lynn in a moment with that, in the fact that people are grasping for anything. So that goes back to control. So if you think you're losing control or have lost control, then you're going to go after it hard as you can, even if
Yeah.
it gets out of your comfort zone. And then I take a look at that. So you are truly conquering fear in different ways.
Now, okay, so let's use this epidemic as an example because this set people into a tremendous amount of fear. All right, it did. Not only because of the disease itself, but oh my God, I got to live in the house with my whole family 24/7. Believe it or not, that put a lot of fear into people. And the idea of losing their work, the idea of, you know, a paycheck not coming in, there's a lot of fear, a lot of different fears going on. So yeah, people do feel like they're free falling. But what if I said, and they're going into the unknown, lack of control and the unknown, the first two things you guys came up with, which were excellent. You're a good group. You're really, this is good. All right, so how do we make the unknown more familiar in our life? How could we make the unknown of this predicament more familiar so that we don't feel like we lose control?
Get information.
Tammy, that's good. Get accurate information. Know the information that's bogus and the information that's good. Yeah, that's good. That's number one. Get information because that helps to build your faith. Very good. What's another one?
This is Kathleen. What about change your mindset? Maybe not looking at, I mean, it's the unknown, but think of it as an adventure.
Ah, I do that all the time. Yes. It's an adventure. Open yourself up to an adventure. That's another way. I like that too. I always like that. Whenever we get lost, when my kids were little, because I love to go places and I was in the car, and I get lost very easily. And I just say, oh guys, we're going on an adventure. And now that they're older, they say, oh mom, not another adventure.
You know, can I say that's actually a good word to remember. So thanks for bringing that up. That's a good word. That's a good word. I don't usually use that one. So thank you. Yeah.
Oh, anything can be an adventure. Lynn,
Yeah.
you getting on the Facebook and doing your videos, that's an adventure.
Thanks.
It's an experience. It's
Yeah.
an adventure. Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
I was going to say though about another thing is sort of like, you know, make the most of what you have. Like, you know, use whatever you have in the new quote unquote normal or the current reality to make the most of it. Okay, so you can't have your latte, caramel latte from the cafe, and believe me, I miss my Starbucks chai tea lattes and stuff.
Yeah.
But maybe now I'll use what I have at home or order things to make it at home or set up my dining room like a cafe. I actually was thinking of that.
I did.
Oh, you did? Then I'll be right over.
Yeah, come on over. I got it. Yeah, I did. I went to Bed Bath & Beyond and I found little caramel lattes and I can just put in my Keurig. And it's not quite the same, but it's really
Right.
good.
Put
So,
in a
yeah.
nice cup, a nice fancy cup,
Yeah, nice fancy cup and then a little candle or something, make it special. I like that. That's very true. Do what you can and make it something special. What any others?
Attitude, practicing
Attitude. Everything is attitude. Who was that?
gratitude.
Oh, gratitude.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Gratitude is my most favorite thing in the whole wide world. Why is it, Kathleen? Tell me why gratitude.
Well, again, it's again about changing your mindset. For example, like, okay, I don't have Starbucks caramel latte, but gosh, look what I have. I have all this great stuff in my house and I'm not worried about running out of this. And it's just changing your perspective.
It is. And don't you find that gratitude starts you off in the highest, most wonderful feeling and vibration?
Absolutely.
It brings the very best of your life forward. Yeah. So it puts you in the perfect position to start going on an adventure. It really does.
You're right.
Okay. Who else? Stella, you haven't spoken. What about you? Do you have another way?
Well, no, I'm going to agree with the gratitude because that's my easiest way to get over fear or get over being stuck.
Yep.
So yeah,
Okay.
I do agree with that.
Okay. And Larry, what about you?
Yeah, interesting. I sitting here thinking how the conversation has changed from a negative to a positive, because faith, a lack of faith or fear is on the negative side, and
Right.
adventure, gratitude, attitude, that's all positive stuff.
Yeah.
So isn't that interesting swing?
Isn't it?
And that's the one thing we do have control over is our thoughts. So if we change our thoughts, change our attitude, be grateful, those are all positive things.
I love it. You're right. You're right. One thing I find is building that faith is also changing the attitude, changing our thoughts. And what is it, the apple or what do they say? The egg or the chicken, or the apple or the orange? No, it's the chicken and the egg. Which one comes first? But I always get never mind my sayings. But I'll give you one thing I like. You tell me what you think about it, okay? When I'm faced with going into the unknown of any way, if I have like an idea that I want to start walking into, or something is thrown in to my world, such as this epidemic, I immediately sit down with a hot cup of tea or a glass of wine, whichever the case may be, and I sit and I start writing down what I want, what's my idea, what do I want to make this, like this epidemic, what is this epidemic? What is this epidemic really, what do I want to make out of this epidemic? Because it is unknown. And I wrote down some characteristics, such as I want our family to build more love, even a more stronger bond. I wanted us to have fun because this is the last time that my son is probably going to be home my oldest is going to be home for the longest time. I also wanted to feel secure and safe. And again, I want to present that to my family. And I wanted us to just build what we have into such a cool place that it lasts for the rest of our lives. And that's what I wrote down. But then, and that's what I do with ideas of whatever idea I have, whether I'm writing a book or whether I'm starting a program or even when I started this career. But this is the thing I love to do. I love to then just visualize it. Now, how many of you know about visualization? I know, Lynn, you do. You want to describe it for everyone? You're on mute. You might want to unpress mute.
Yeah, maybe that'll work.
That might.
That might help. Visualization. You know, it's interesting. I know a lot about visualization. I feel like I just started using it a little bit more. But basically picturing what you do want to happen instead of what you don't want to happen, making that image in your mind. I heard recently that one philosophy says, what's his name? Goddard?
Yeah, Goddard?
Yeah, Neville Goddard, right? I heard that. Yeah, I'm not saying this is the way to do it or not, but I find this interesting. In that philosophy, it's saying that ideally when you visualize, if you could visualize as if you're looking through your eyes, not like you're watching yourself in a movie, but looking. Yeah, so I just find that interesting.
Interesting.
Actually, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting.
So like if you're walking on the beach with somebody, say you're picturing walking on the beach with somebody, instead of seeing you and that person walking along the water, you see as if you're looking into their face and see their feet, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
First person, not third person.
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Third person, not, yeah, exactly. Now that's interesting. You know, I know a lot of Goddard, and I don't remember that one.
But
That's,
there's a guy on online, Joseph Ally, that has been talking about Goddard. And I haven't been singing in a long time, but every now and then when I go to visualize, I'm trying it more that way. Probably anyway works well, but
I think I almost naturally do it that way, but I never thought of
Maybe.
the cons. I never thought people do it another way because I wouldn't know. So
Ah.
that's very cool. But yeah, very interesting.
it's
Well,
interesting.
Okay, so does everybody know about visualization? Lynn's 100% on. Does anybody have anything to add to that? Okay. No? All right. Well, in visualization, what I've really found is that it's the feeling that hits home the best. It's the feeling that changes
right.
the belief
That's
inside. Thank you, Lynn. You talk about it then. Share. Oh, you're on mute again.
I'm sorry. No, I just wanted to interject that because I totally forgot that part. So go ahead.
So this feeling, so you bring in the feeling of it. So like when I'm sitting down and I'm writing about all this love and this whole feeling of our stronger bond in our family, I really am feeling safe and protected also. I feel that. I feel what it feels like to be around the thing I picture is being around the kitchen table and we're all just doing our thing where we're talking. We all talk at the same time in my family. All right. So, because we're all excited and I have 3 boys. And so when I feel that I get excited and happy. And before you know it, it starts to, the more I visualize that, the more I'm in that state. When I make that my present being, then the fear subsides because it has no leg to stand on. I have now created my unknown. It's now known. That's the whole premise of a visualization. Kathleen.
I agree. You create a new reality.
Create a new reality.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. And Carolyn, what do you think of that? Carol.
I mean, that's law of attraction.
It is law of attraction.
And it works.
And law of vibration. And law of gestation and law of perpetual transmutation. It's law of your thoughts. Yeah, exactly. And it is. It really takes the unknown and makes it known. But it's done with feeling. And then you know what else it does? And we haven't even started talking about vibration, but it also goes right up to source, up to God, up to the heavens and says, yes, I am serious. This is my new reality. And remember when we said that's using your imagination. Remember when I said the 5 gifts of the Spirit? Well, you just changed you used your imagination to start changing your perception and your reality. So now all your reasoning and your habits will change because your perception, because of your imagination, have changed. Isn't that cool? It's really very powerful. Yes, Lynn.
Can I say something? You just reminded me about imagination. Yeah, that like sometimes I forget about how important that is, imagination. And yesterday, for another group thing that I'm in, I was supposed to write down. And we've heard this many times. So you write down your ideal day, right? And I had a little resistance. It's like, oh, I don't know what to put, But once I started, kind of making up this story that is something that I really would want, it seemed like using a little bit of the imagination seemed like it started to kick in with all of these details. Like I'm making this, story up and I was like, wow, that really sounds pretty good. And like I didn't consciously have that in mind, but I think imagination does tap into what? Inspiration connects to God's source.
Oh
I don't
my
know.
God, yeah.
Yeah.
Waddles says, yeah, Waddles of the Science of Getting Rich actually says, you tap into the formless substance, meaning all the ideas. You start tapping into a world of invention, a world of, I love when you tap into your imagination more and more. I really think if you are one who has a lot of critical ideas, every time you try to do something, you find yourself, you hear a thought saying, oh, don't say that, that's stupid, or don't do that because that's not going to work, or, you've got a lot of critical ideas. When you start tapping into imagination and just playing with it, you're going to find that starts to weaken that critical mind, because you get used to doing things in a really fun way. You start to, like, I love sitting down. I once called a friend and I said, how about if I ran for president? Now that was my imagination. Why couldn't I be president? Why couldn't I be president if I really made that my goal?
I think I've told you you should be president.
I don't know about that. Oh, it's cool. Well, who knows? Maybe someday. But really, I'm thinking to myself, why not? What would I do? And I actually create my whole presidency one afternoon when I decided to just daydream. Isn't that something? Now, am I going to run? No, I don't think so. I'm very happy with what I'm doing. Kathleen?
I agree with that, and I think you're using your imagination in a positive way, because when you think about it and you think about fearing the unknown, that's your imagination too, and you're imagining all these really bad things that could happen, and instead of imagining it negatively, you're imagining positive.
Exactly. Do you guys know that old story? Kathleen, you reminded me of this, and it's excellent. You know that old story? Okay, so this man gets lost, and he goes out and he sees this hill with this tree up on the hill, and he thinks, oh, I'm tired, I want to lay, that's such a shade tree, I'm going to go up and I'm going to lay. I don't know who ever came up with this story first, but it's a good story. So he gets under the tree and he sits under there, and it's a hot day, and he feels the shade, and he says, oh, this is so wonderful, I wish I had some water to drink. Bing! He's got a pitcher of water. He says, wow, this is pretty cool. And so he has this water and he thinks, oh, I'm a little bit hungry. I really want something to eat. Oh, there it goes. He's got a whole feast right before him. He's thinking, this is fantastic. So he eats and he drinks. He starts saying, this is very strange. Every time I think of something, it happens. What happens if I start thinking of ghosts? And all of a sudden, bing, he has ghosts. And he says, oh my gosh, they're going to torture me and kill me. And bing, they torture and kill him. The moral of the story is he used his imagination for good, he received good. He used it for bad, he received bad.
Yep.
Our imaginations are really the most powerful thing we have, because they are where our ideas, that's how we can tap into that formless substance of Waddles, or tap into the land of ideas. It's the place that gives us the faith, because it helps us to conquer the unknown. It helps us to believe in ourselves. It helps us to have fun. And it helps us to really start to just find creative ways for how to deal with problems and solutions. What do you think of that? Can anybody add, or anybody have something they disagree with? You can disagree,
This is Kathleen. I do agree with that. At least, I can't speak for everyone, but for me, the key is keeping my imagination positive, because it's so easy to fall into that that negative, and then you get that critical thinking, and then it's just a spiral downward. So just keep your imagination positive. At least
I
that's
love
what I
that.
have to do.
So
And oh, go ahead. Who's next?
I started to meditate more, and when I noticed I'm in the entertainment industry, and so I have a really good imagination.
You do.
And sometimes it's really wild. But when I lay there or I'm thinking and I'm not staying focused on positive, really goofy thoughts come in. So I started doing this.
What is that? Scissors?
I cut them.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's brilliant.
And and no one sees me doing it. I just go like this. And I imagine they fly in on a string, like a balloon, right? That's attached.
Right.
And I just I started doing it as a joke. But you guys, it really works now. I just do this.
I love that.
It's really
that.
it's fun. And I laugh because I'm still thinking it's funny that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And it makes me positive again. So I laugh. Of course, I'm laughing at myself, but that's just me, as you all get to
Well,
know.
why not? Why can't we laugh at ourselves?
As you guys get to know me and you'll see I'm really good at that. But I cut it, and then it flies away. I laugh, and then I get back to either not thinking of anything or getting back to work or then going on a positive thought. But the negative at least is gone.
I love that.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Actually, Erin, I really love that. I always do like a pop on a button, but I like that. I like that. Kathleen, what do you think of that one?
I love it.
I
love
do
it.
too.
I'm gonna try it.
It reminds me of Winnie the Pooh. Because Winnie the Pooh always had balloons. I always see Winnie, Eeyore always had them to his tail. He always had them tied to his tail. I just see balloons in Winnie the Pooh. So I just see Pooh cutting them. That's my imagination. So when we do that and we just let go, then it's funny when you start using your imagination and you just plan and you sit down and you do some outrageous stuff like, okay, I'm going to pretend I'm an astronaut and I'm going to see what it's like. And I just let myself daydream. Or when I'm in the car, I used to do it with the kids, but now they don't want to do it with me anymore. My kids are like 20 and 18 and 15, and I think they've had enough of mom stuff, but that's okay. So I love to make up stories. So if I'm going on the road and I see something, anything that I think is story worthy, and oh my gosh, if it's a foggy day and we go by a graveyard, there's going to be a story. So I create these stories in my head, and I used to do it with the kids in the car, and but I do this for a reason. It fosters my imagination. It keeps it really alive. So then when I go to do my visualization, or when I get an idea and I want it to grow big inside me, because the idea has to grow big inside us before we bring it out here. Now, and I want to bring Tammy in on this, because Tammy, I know something about you. And you understand what I'm saying about building an idea. And the reason why is because you, my dear, are an artist. So when you are painting a picture, you have to build that image inside you. I think she left the screen for a minute, but she's still there. She must have had to deal with something.
She's there. I see her. Tammy?
Oh, she's there, but she's not there. Are you there? All right. So does everyone kind of understand, though, what I'm saying? When we have to believe it totally inside ourselves before it will actually come out into our world. And when you build the imagination in such a way that only good things, it's like we're under that tree, only good things happen, and that I am, in any circumstance, that I'm always going to be fine, that I am going to just create the very best out of everything, then before you know it, you start creating the best out of everything. Larry, what do you think of that?
I'm basically sitting back and kind of listening.
Yeah, that you are.
We've been on the imagination part a while, but I am curious, not to get off imagination, but I am curious of another gift you mentioned of spirit, is the will.
Ah.
What
What
how does that-
fascinates you on that?
How does that blend in with part of this conversation?
Ah, the will, I always think of it as a, okay, thank you, Lynn. All right. Thank you, Lynn. Lynn, yeah, okay. Okay, will. Will is I always think of it as a Japanese beetle or a muscle man. Now you know how I think of Japanese beetles. But actually, a muscle man, it's the strength, it's the will, it's what gets us through. So like when I do that visualization and I start really believing, then it's what's going to say, all right, now I'm going to get up off this sofa. I believe in what I'm going to do, and I'm going to take the first step into it. And Kathleen, it was Kathleen and it was Lynn who was talking about you do it anyway beside the fear. I like to soften it a little bit. I like to believe it inside myself first, and then I use the will to take the first action. And will's also used when times get tough. How do I stay with it? Okay? But they all work together, Larry. They all work together. You know, it's all, I really do think it starts with imagination, but then all the gifts work together. Kathleen, did you want to say something?
Nope, I'm just listening.
Oh, okay. I saw you flash on. That's
Oh,
why.
sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So so it really does start with once you activate the imagination, I really think what it does is it starts to build a belief in yourself. And you know, the thing is, it's so silly that we even have to talk about it, because when you open your mind with imagination, then all of a sudden your perception starts to change. So say I'm opening my mind, say I have a fear of crowds, okay? So I start to imagine, visualizing, but I imagine myself in those crowds, and I imagine myself just going up and starting to talk to people with such ease and grace. And I just float from one group to the other, and I'm so fun, and I'm having so much fun, and I'm loving all the people, and I start just living that imagination more and more. Then it's going to start changing my perception of how scary that going into a group of strangers is. Now, here's the thing. It also affects my intuition, because now it's not so scary. My intuition isn't going to go off on a false alarm. I can actually trust it, so that if I go up and I talk to a person who doesn't seem quite right, and my stomach starts turning queasy, and that person doesn't seem like they're in my best interest, then I'll know to walk away, because my intuition is sound then. And to get started with that, my will has to get me off the sofa from my imagination and actually act in going to that party. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
I can see how they all blend together, or, you know, in different ways they blend together.
Exactly. Yeah. They exactly do. They exactly do. So, Tammy, you're back on. Are you back on? Oh, she's on mute. Okay. I really wanted to talk about the art. So anyway, when we go and we start to look at things this way, I mean, can all of you think of something? Well, let's be honest. How many of us really suffered from fear with this pandemic? I mean, everybody had a little bit of fear, didn't we?
Right. If nothing else, the fear of passing it to one of our acquaintances, our loved ones, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Even if we don't have fear for ourselves.
Right. My son was actually sick at the beginning of it, and we don't know what he had because nobody would test him. But I mean, there was a little fear. Of course there was. We were in the emergency room twice. So yeah, we had a little bit of fear. And I wouldn't say fear so much, but concern. And yeah, I can understand why people would fear that. Yes, yeah, that's a real fear. So how do you build around that? And how do seeing your family in a way that's safe and sound and taking the precautions that you need to take, you know, and not letting the fear get a hold of you, but using it in a proactive, positive way. Tammy, did you want to say something, hon? Okay. You just flashed. Oh, go ahead.
I keep going in.
Oops. You keep going in and out, don't you?
I keep going. I just have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Are these all the 5 gifts of the spirits you're talking about? Is that?
Yes.
Okay. So is it imagination, intuition, inspiration, perception, will, and then another one, or did I get those wrong?
Yeah, you added one. I love it. That's okay. It's imagination, intuition. Okay. It's also memory, believe it or not. It's perception. It's reasoning. And it's the will. And they're just the same. There are inner gifts. There are spirit. It's our soul. It's just like our senses on the outside. You know, like our seeing, hearing, tasting, feeling, same kind of thing. Okay. And Tammy, I was talking about building an idea. What do you, as an artist, and by the way, Tammy is a phenomenal artist. When you build a picture, do you see it inside your head before you put it on the paper? Are you still there?
Oh, sometimes, not all
Not sometimes, really? Really?
time.
Wow.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm here.
I know. So sometimes you just start painting and you just don't even know what you're going to paint. Oh, I lost her again. Okay. All right, when she gets back on. All right. So, do you feel like you're ready to start dealing with fear in a different way? Has this opened your mind up a little bit? Erin is nodding yes. Carol, what about you? Okay, you guys are on mute if you don't know it. And I can't do anything about that. If you mute yourselves, I don't think I can do it. Yeah, see, I can't do that. Okay.
And it's definitely motivated me.
Okay. So what I want you to do, because I don't want to go back into the negative, but I want you to write down, just take one moment, something that is a fear that you hear all the time. And then I want you to think about, put down 1 or 2 or even 3 ways that you can deal with that fear from here on in.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. I can even see you now.
Okay. Yeah, my family just helped me. So yeah.
Oh, that's good. You know what? My kids help me with my technology all the time. They know more.
You had asked me about, do I see things before I paint them? And you know, there have been times I think where I have, but I don't. sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, I guess. Yeah. I don't know.
You know, that is actually, God, I could use use of the law of gestation, the becoming, trusting, walking in what you believe. I want to paint a picture. You have no idea about the picture, but you let it unfold. The Tao says be on the flow. And so if you want to paint a rose, you start painting a rose. But when the rose maybe turns into that beautiful picture with you, the lady with all the flowers on Facebook, absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, that's perfect. That's how we should live our life. That's how everyone should. That's beautiful. That's by the soul.
Yeah.
But right now, let's see what we can do about a basic
Mm.
from living by that soul. So write down what it is that you feel when you want to do something, and then write down 2 or 3 ways that you can now look at and say, oh yeah, we just talked about that green Terra. I can try this, I can try this, or I can try this. Okay. All right. Kathleen, did you want to say something?
Nope.
Oh, okay. When your name flashes up, I think you do. All right.
Be some
So,
ambient noise or something.
yeah, it could be. So fear is something that doesn't need to be. Now, if people know me well, they always say, you have no fear. And basically, in many ways, I really don't. Now, sometimes I'll have a concern, but I really don't have fear. The funny thing is when I was, I learned at a young age that fear wasn't going to serve me because I got lost on a little mountain. It wasn't so little, actually. Me and a girl from Montreal. And I got lost on a mountain one day. And I found she panicked. And I thought, oh God, we're not going to cross over here. Both panicked. We're gonna get, you know, the black bears are going to find us, and that's it. We're dead. Or the mountain lion. We have mountain lions. So I said, okay, what did my dad teach me? And I was 10 or 11 years old. What did my dad teach me? What did my dad teach me? And because he used to always take me into the woods and teach me stuff. So I said, okay, moss grows on the north side of the tree, and always find the stream and follow it, because it always leads to a town. So I found moss, and it was on the north side, so I said, okay, we're gonna go south. I had no why, I just thought south sounded good. I was 10 or 11, but it did lead me to a stream. And the stream was going down, so we followed it down the mountain and we hit the town. And I got into big trouble. Everybody was there, of course. I wandered off, and I made the Montreal girl walk. So it was all my fault. But I was also the one that learned that if you panic, we would have died. We would have died. What was that? We wouldn't have gone anywhere. And I learned a very valuable lesson about fear, that fear can totally handicap you. And I made a vow to myself that I wasn't going to have that fear. Isn't that interesting? That's an old belief that I keep. There are some good ones in there, folks. So when we're thinking of fear, just think that fear is something that cripples us. We don't need it. If we build that beautiful faith inside of us, and we build that imagination, and we trust ourselves, and know that this life is something that we're supposed to experience, then we're willing to step out more. Yes, okay, I'm not going to say that. I just came in for the noise. All right, so think about that more. And also, I'd love to have you on Green Terran. We're going to do this every Thursday night at 7. Every Thursday night, we'll talk about a different concept. And you can see, I love participation. And if you have friends, have them come, because the more we have, the merrier, because we get more ideas and more concepts and differences. Like Lynn, she brought in really cool things from daughters, you know, and we all have something in them. So please bring in friends. It's a free, wonderful, conceptual time. If you want to learn more about Soul Manifesto and living by that soul, take a look at the website. There's some really cool things. We got this Inevitable You, which I did with Elizabeth Gilbert. That program is up and coming this week. And some other people. Dave Corey, who's 40 years in meditation and just learning how to get into your creative spirit all the time. And there's other things there that you can look into. But most importantly, I'd love to see you back on here on Thursday next week. Did you all have a good time?
Thank
Yes.
you, Elena. It was great.
Oh, well.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, I always
Yeah,
have
thank you, Elena.
really quick. I always say namaste, meaning stay connected to that divineness in you. Stay connected to all the wonderful people around you the best way you can with this virus. And always stay connected to source. I love you all.
Love you too. Good night.
Thank you, Elena.
Thank you, Elaine. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Bye, Tammy.
Bye-bye.
proposal that you're helping us put.